teach 120, 160 students per week. Also, you write articles and you work on how many books right now? Like 2, 3 books at the same time?
I got my James Joyce book. I got my book of essays, and I'm actually started a 4th book. It's on the carnivalization of literature.
4 books, 4 books. So my simple question is, how do you manage all this? I mean, you are like, we're all complaining about time and that like we don't have enough of it. And how as a writer and a teacher, a husband and an artist, and you have like, you find time for paintings also. How do you organize yourself? Like, I need that immortal secret.
Well, if I really organized myself, those 4 books would be written already, and I'd be working on another 4. So I'm not as productive as I would like to be. There are many, many, many artists and writers who are way more productive than me. I'm doing my best. I don't have an organized kind of plan. But I remember when I started reading when I was 11 years old, I read nothing but comic books, and my dad brought home something he thought a book that I would read, and it was a Perry Mason murder mystery by Earl Stanley Gardner. And Earl Stanley Gardner, I read all his books. I read all his books. Must have been 50 of them. I then read about him, and it turns out that he wrote books under 2, 3 other pen names. He wrote a book about Donald Lamb and Bertha Cool, she was a very large woman detective, and Donald Lamb was a lawyer who had been disbarred, and they had a detective agency. So he wrote not just the Perry Mason books, he wrote Donald Lamb and Bertha Cool. He wrote another series of books in 3rd person. And he had 3 secretaries that he would dictate to. He always had a straw hat on. He would go from one room to another in the course of a day and dictate a chapter from one book. And then she would, of course, take it down and then type it up. Then he would go to another and then another. And I always thought that was really cool. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, when I was reading the books, 7 books one summer at the same time, and then I added an 8th where I read backwards, I just thought it was cool to be doing more than one thing at one time. But I'm not doing more than one book at one time because I think it's cool. I write sentences, and sentences lead to paragraphs, and paragraphs lead to poems, or they lead to stories or a novel or an essay. And sometimes I write a bunch of stuff and I go, this is really about Michael Bakhtin and the carnivalization of literature. Oh, and some of this stuff, shit, I'm doing a thing on James Joyce here. Oh man, I thought this was going to be 5 pages, but it's 80 pages already, and I can see it's a book. It's now 500 pages. So in the course of me just being creative in writing, kind of things bloom out. It's kind of like when you're walking down the sidewalk. If you ever walk down a sidewalk that's paved and you notice a little piece of grass is sticking up in the little crack. I'm not talking about the formal crack. I'm just saying the pavement's cracked a little bit, and there comes a piece of grass.
I love that. That's my favorite.
And to me, that's like a miracle. So that's what it is. They're just all these little pieces of grass coming up, and if you don't cut it, the grass becomes a tree. And then you bring it to the printer and you print it, and you got a book.
Wow, if you don't cut it, it's very.
So I don't have a, it's not like I'm writing all the time. I do a lot of things that are enjoyable, like reading a book. That was a joke. No, I tend to be a creative person. Everything. I said this in class one time. Everything is the book, but not everything has to go in the book. Well, not only is everything is the book, everything is a book. And so I could be doing the most inane thing, and I'll see something in it, and I'll go, "Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that'd be." And then later on, it goes into my subconscious, and I might be writing, and I go, "Oh, that's another book." So It's grass sprouting through the cracks in the sidewalk. You don't have to have an organization. You don't have to have a plan. If you think creatively, if you are creative in your life being, everything is a book. Everything. You just got to notice the grass. A lot of us walk and we don't notice the grass coming up through the sidewalk, but it's there. Grass is coming up all around you. Codas lurk everywhere, and so do the grass from the earth shooting up through the concrete of your daily life.
That's like creativity.
End quote.
Uh,
Yeah.